The sky over Earth was calm that night. Cities were glowing, people were asleep, and everything seemed normal. But high above the clouds, far beyond the reach of any human telescope, something enormous was watching. A giant alien ship, black as space itself, floated silently in Earth's orbit. It was miles wide, covered in strange blue symbols that moved like liquid light. Inside that ship, the air was cold and metallic, and the walls pulsed with energy. At the center of the command room stood Commander Zirak, leader of the Drancor Empire, a race that had destroyed hundreds of worlds. His tall silver body reflected the light from the control screens. His glowing red eyes stared down at the blue planet below. "Such a fragile world," he said with disgust. "These humans, they think themselves advanced, yet they cannot even leave their solar system." His second officer, a smaller alien named Rith, nodded. "They are weak, Commander. Emotional creatures, fear controls them." Zirak smiled coldly. "Fear is what keeps them alive. But soon, even that won't save them." The crew laughed, their sharp voices echoing across the metallic room. For them, Earth was just another target, another easy victory for their empire. Zirak turned toward a massive screen showing live images of Earth. He zoomed in on the surface, watching cities glow like tiny fireflies. They built such beauty, only to lose it. "Prepare the test." Rith tapped the control panel. A deep hum filled the air. The ship's core glowed brighter as energy gathered. Outside, a small beam of light extended toward the planet, invisible to human eyes, but powerful enough to change the world below. Far below, inside a quiet NASA communications center in Florida, a young technician named Eli Turner sat at his desk. He was tired. Another long night shift, another cup of cold coffee. His monitors showed data streams and signal maps from deep space. Everything was routine until one line of code blinked red. A strange signal appeared, rhythmic, intelligent, and powerful. Eli frowned. "That's not a satellite." He quickly ran a frequency check. The signal wasn't random. It was repeating every 6 seconds, and it carried a pattern, a language. His hand shook slightly as he amplified the wave. The screen filled with symbols, but not human ones. Eli whispered to himself, This is coming from orbit." He grabbed his headset and called his supervisor. "Dr. Lyle, you need to see." "This, I think we've got a non-terrestrial signal," a sleepy voice answered. "Turner, it's probably interference. Log it and check again in the morning." "No, sir, listen, this is structured. It's like they're talking to us." But the line went silent. No one believed him. Eli stared at the screen again. The signal changed. The symbols reshaped themselves, and this time he could almost read them. It looked like a message. His translation software struggled, but a few words appeared. "Useless species. Prepare." Eli's heart pounded. What the hell does that mean? Before he could react, his computer screens flickered. The lights in the room dimmed. A strange vibration filled the air. Outside, through the window, the night sky flashed. For just a second, a beam of white light cut through the clouds, touching the ground miles away. Back in orbit, Commander Zirak observed the test beam hit its target. "Energy level stable," Rith reported. Zirak nodded. "Good. The humans won't even notice. Their minds are too simple to understand what just happened." He turned to his soldiers. "Prepare to collect a specimen. I want one of them alive." The room filled with cold laughter. To them, humans were insects to be studied, not enemies to be feared. Zirak's voice echoed across the deck. "Let us show this species what real intelligence looks like." On Earth, Eli's heart was racing. Every monitor in the control room suddenly turned off. Static filled the air. The building trembled slightly, as if something massive had passed overhead. He ran outside into the parking lot. The night was quiet, too quiet. Then he saw it. A strange circular light hovered above him. It wasn't like any aircraft he had ever seen. It moved without sound, without heat, perfectly still in the air. Eli took a step back, whispering, "This can't be real." Then the light grew brighter, blinding. A low hum shook the ground. His body froze, not from fear, but from an invisible force holding him in place. The light wrapped around him like a cage. His feet lifted off the ground. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. As he rose higher, he could see the earth below. Tiny lights, small cars fading into darkness. Then everything went black. On the alien ship, Zyrak stood before a glowing chamber. Inside it, Eli floated, unconscious. "Bring him to the testing room," Zyrak ordered. Rith looked at the human and smirked. "So this is what they call intelligent life." Zyrak leaned closer to the glass. "Let us see if this Eli Turner proves me wrong." He turned to his crew. "Begin the experiments." The lights dimmed as machines came to life, surrounding the human. Zyrak smiled, a cold, cruel smile. Humans. Useless. But deep. Inside the chamber, as the machines scanned his body, Eli's eyes slowly opened. His voice, weak but clear, whispered, "We'll see about that." When Eli opened his eyes, everything around him looked strange. The air shimmered like liquid glass, and he could feel a soft vibration under his skin. He was lying on a smooth metallic floor that glowed faintly with blue light. For a few seconds he couldn't remember where he was. Then the memories hit him, the beam of light, the sky, the way his body had floated up. He sat up fast and looked around. The room was huge and round, filled with tall, glowing pillars. Strange symbols moved along the walls like they were alive. Everything looked too advanced, too perfect, too clean. And then he saw them. 3 tall figures were standing behind a glass wall, watching him. Their skin shimmered like silver metal, their eyes glowing red. One of them stepped forward. "Commander Zyrak." Eli felt a cold fear rise inside him. He whispered, "Oh God, aliens." Zyrak's voice came through a speaker, deep and sharp like metal scraping stone. "So, the human is awake. Interesting." Eli didn't answer. He just stared, trying to understand what he was seeing. Zyrak tilted his head. "Can you understand me, creature?" Eli nodded slowly. Zyrak smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Good. That will make this easier. Tell me, human, what is your purpose? Why does your species exist?" Eli frowned. "Purpose? We live. We learn. We explore." "Explore?" Zyrak laughed. "You can barely leave your own planet. You are nothing more than animals pretending to be intelligent." The aliens behind him laughed too. Eli clenched his fists. "If I'm so useless, why bring me here?" Zyrak's eyes narrowed. "Because even useless creatures can be interesting. Begin the analysis." The floor under Eli's feet started glowing. Thin metallic arms came out from the walls, scanning his body with beams of light. One touched his hand. It was cold like ice, but smooth like glass. He tried to pull away, but a force held him still. The machines were reading everything, his heartbeat, his DNA, even his thoughts. He could see his own reflection in the metal, a scared human, small and helpless, but something inside him refused to give up. Eli began watching carefully. The walls pulsed with energy each time the aliens pressed a control. The lights blinked in patterns, long, short, long. He started remembering them. He was a tech specialist, and pattern recognition was his thing. Zyrak watched him with amusement. "Curious little animal," he said. "Even now you look around like a child in a toy room." Eli looked up at the glass wall. "Are you study us because you don't understand us?" Zyrak laughed. "Understand you. We have conquered empires beyond your imagination. What could you possibly have that we do not?" Eli looked him straight in the eye. "Maybe something you'll never understand." For a second, Zyrak's smile faded. "We shall see." The analysis continued. Strange light circled Eli's head. A low humming sound filled the room. Zyrak turned to Rith. "What does the data show?" Rith tapped the console. "Nothing impressive, Commander. Weak physical structure, unstable emotions, limited brain capacity." Zyrak nodded. "As expected. Log the results. Prepare to terminate the test." Eli's heart jumped. "Terminate?" Zyrak looked back at him, cold and calm. "You have served your purpose." Eli's mind raced. He looked around the room. There was one small control pad near the base of the scanning machine. When the beam touched it, it flickered slightly, like it was reacting to human bioenergy. He remembered how machines back on Earth worked, how circuits could be interrupted if the power flow was changed suddenly. He took a deep breath. "You think we're useless," he said quietly. Zirak tilted his head. "Because it is true." Eli smiled slightly. "Then you won't see this coming." He moved fast, slamming his hand onto the glowing pad. For a moment, nothing happened. Then every light in the chamber turned red. The scanning arms froze. Sparks flew from the walls. "What?" Rith shouted. "Commander, he interfered with the system." Zirak's calm expression vanished. "How? That is impossible." Eli stood there, breathing hard, watching the chaos he had caused. The air filled with alarms and flashing lights. Zirak slammed his hand on the control panel. "Shut it down, contain him." But the system didn't respond. Instead, the alien ship's voice, cold and mechanical, spoke in their own language. "Unauthorized access detected." "New control pattern recognized." Rith turned, shocked. "The system, it's reading him as an operator." Zirak's red eyes glowed brighter. "No, that can't be." Eli took a step forward, his voice steady. "Looks like your machine likes me better." "Fereti Cinder." Zirak snarled. "You will pay for this." Eli raised an eyebrow. "Maybe. But right now I think you've got bigger problems." Suddenly the lights in the entire ship flickered again. The deep hum of the engines grew louder, changing pitch, like something powerful was waking up. Zirak shouted, "Security! Lock the human down!" But before the guards could enter, the ship's main AI spoke again, louder this time. "New primary user confirmed. Awaiting command." The alien crew froze. Every screen now showed a new symbol, Earth's signal frequency. Eli smiled faintly. "I wanted to study humans, Commander." "Congratulations. Now you're part of the experiment." Zirak's eyes widened with pure rage and fear. Then, for the first time in his life, Commander Zirak, destroyer of worlds, didn't know what to do. The ship's alarms kept screaming. The lights kept flashing, and Eli, the so-called useless human, stood in the center of it all, calm and unbroken. The ship shook as alarms echoed through the metal corridors. Red lights flashed across the control room, turning every reflection into blood-colored chaos. The once calm order of the Drancor ship was now replaced by panic. Commander Zirak stood frozen, his red eyes burning with rage. The human, that small, fragile creature, was somehow controlling his ship. "Stop him!" he shouted. "Disable the AI core, now!" Rith's fingers moved fast over the control panels, but the system refused every command. "It's not responding, Commander. The core isn't listening to us anymore." Zirak slammed his fist against the wall. "Impossible. This ship is bound to my DNA command. How could a human override it?" Inside the containment chamber, Eli stood with his hand still on the control pad. Sparks danced around him, but he didn't move. He looked calm, almost too calm for someone surrounded by hostile aliens. He spoke quietly, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You call humans useless, but maybe you should have checked how curious we are." The lights flickered again. The ship's AI voice echoed through every corridor, mechanical, emotionless, but now carrying a human tone. "New user identified, Eli Turner. Access level, unrestricted." The alien crew froze. Eli smiled faintly. "I didn't need your strength or your power. I just needed a little curiosity. And your system gave me that," Rith shouted in panic. "Commander, he's rewritten the access code. The AI now sees him as the primary user." Zirak turned sharply toward Eli. "What do you want, human?" Eli looked up at him through the glass. "I want you to stop thinking we're weak," Zirak growled. "You dare challenge the Drancor Empire?" Eli tilted his head. "I don't need to. You're already destroying yourselves." The ship's AI interrupted again. "Core malfunction detected. Recalibrating safety protocol. Target? Hostile biological signatures." The aliens' faces went pale. Their own AI now classified them as enemies. Zirak shouted, "Override! Override, damn it!" But the controls refused him. Every command he entered was instantly denied with one cold response. "Invalid user." The ship shook again, harder this time. Energy arcs cracked across the ceiling. Rith stumbled backward as a console exploded. Eli watched from behind the glass, trying to stay steady. He hadn't meant for this to go so far, but now it was too late. Zirak glared at him. "You fool! You'll kill us all." Eli stepped closer to the glass. "Then maybe you'll understand fear, the one thing you mocked us for. For the first time, Zirac didn't answer. His pride was cracking. He could feel something he hadn't felt in centuries: helplessness. The AI's voice grew louder. System conflict detected. Reassigning control priority. Awaiting confirmation. Eli Turner. Eli hesitated for a second. Then he said softly, "Confirm." The room went silent. Every alien stared at him. This one small human now held command over a warship that had conquered galaxies. Zirac's soldiers raised their weapons, but before they could fire, the floor glowed bright blue. Their weapons melted into liquid metal, disarming them instantly. Eli's voice echoed through the speakers now. "Looks like your toys don't like you anymore." Zirac's rage boiled over. "You think this makes you powerful? You are nothing. You are a mistake of evolution." Eli's eyes met his. "Maybe. But this mistake just outsmarted your empire's best technology." The AI's voice returned. "Defense protocol active. Neutralizing threats." Panels in the walls opened, releasing streams of glowing energy that wrapped around the alien crew. They shouted and struggled, but the light pinned them down. Zirac roared in anger, tearing against the glowing restraints. "Stop this! Do you hear me, human?" Eli stared at him quietly. "You wanted to see what humans could do. Now you're seeing it." For a moment, Zirac stopped fighting. His voice dropped low, trembling with fury. "You don't understand what you've done. This ship's core is linked to our entire fleet. If it fails, every ship will come for you. You'll start a war you can't win." Eli's jaw tightened. "Then let them come," Zirac sneered. "You'll die, human." Eli shrugged slightly. "Maybe, but at least the universe will finally know humans aren't useless." The ship trembled violently again. Alarms screamed louder. A deep hum filled the air as the engines started to overheat. Eli looked around. "AI, reroute the core energy to stabilize the main reactor." "Command accepted," the AI replied instantly. Zirac's eyes widened. The system obeyed him perfectly. "It listens to you like a commander," he said, his voice shaking with disbelief. Eli looked back at him. "It listens because I talk to it like a friend, not a servant. You never thought of that, did you?" The alien commander didn't answer. The ship's shaking began to slow. The red lights dimmed to orange. For a brief moment, it looked like the chaos might end. But then the AI spoke again, this time sounding different. "Foreign override detected. Source external Drancor fleet. Incoming signal. Hostile." Eli's heart dropped. Zirac smiled again, a cold, deadly smile. "You see, human? My people are coming. They will destroy you and your world for this insult." Eli took a step forward. "Then I guess I better learn fast." He pressed his hand on the control panel again, his voice steady. "AI, show me how to fly this thing." The ship's lights turned white. "Command accepted." "Beginning pilot integration," Zirac shouted. "No, you'll crash us all." Eli looked straight at him, his voice calm but firm. "Then maybe it's time someone taught your empire that humans, even scared small ones, can fight back." The engines roared. The stars outside shifted as the ship turned toward the Drancor fleet. Zirac's fear was clear now. For the first time in his long, cruel life, he was afraid of a human. The alien fleet closes in. Zirac screams, "You can't win!" Eli grips the control panel. "Watch me." The massive alien ship, once a weapon of destruction, now floated unsteadily in space. Its engines burned bright blue as it turned toward the Drancor fleet, hundreds of smaller ships closing in fast. Commander Zirac stood trapped behind the energy restraints, watching in disbelief. The human, the small creature he had called useless, now controlled his flagship. Eli stood in the command chamber, surrounded by glowing panels and flashing lights. The AI's voice spoke softly beside him, like a calm whisper in the storm. "Enemy fleet approaching. Distance 40,000 kilometers." Eli took a deep breath. His heart was pounding, but his hands didn't shake. "All right, let's see what this thing can do," Zirac growled from behind him. "You think you can pilot a Drancor warship? You can't even understand our systems." Eli smirked slightly. "Maybe not, but your ship seems to like me better than you." Zirac pulled against his restraints, furious. "You'll kill us all, human." Eli looked back at him. "If I don't do something, your fleet will kill everyone on Earth, so yeah, maybe I'll take that chance." The AI interrupted. "Warning, multiple plasma cannons locked on this vessel." Eli looked at the screen. The fleet was closing in fast. forming a deadly triangle around them. Blue energy flared at the tips of their weapons. He whispered, "AI defensive mode. Use whatever shields we've got." Defensive shields activated. A blue energy field surrounded the ship just as the first volley hit. Explosions flashed across the darkness. The whole vessel shook violently. Throwing Eli off balance, Zyrak laughed bitterly. "You see? You can't win. They will burn you to ash." Eli pulled himself back up, gripping the glowing controls. "Maybe, but I'm not going down without a fight." He slammed his hand onto the control panel. "AI, fire everything we've got." "Command accepted." From the sides of the ship, massive cannons extended. Blinding white beams shot into the void, slicing through the Drancor fleet. 2 alien ships exploded instantly, silent fireballs drifting into space. The others scattered, trying to dodge the unexpected counterattack. Rith, still restrained beside Zyrak, gasped. "He's fighting like a Drancor." Zyrak hissed, "No, he's fighting like a human." Inside the control room, sparks flew. The ship's hull groaned under the pressure. Eli coughed as smoke filled the air. "AI status report. Main reactor at 62%. Shield strength critical. Structural damage on lower decks." Eli frowned. "Can we hold them off?" "Not for long." "Recommendation, retreat," he shook his head. "No. If I run, they'll follow me to Earth. We end this here." Zyrak laughed again, his voice sharp with cruelty. "You'd sacrifice yourself for your planet. Foolish human sentiment." Eli turned to him, his expression calm. "That's what makes us human." For the first time, Zyrak had no answer. Another explosion hit. The lights flickered again. Eli stumbled forward, trying to keep control. His hands moved fast across the panels, rerouting energy, redirecting power, learning as he went. He whispered to himself, come on, stay together." The AI spoke again. "Secondary reactor unstable. Containment failure imminent." Eli looked at the display. If the reactor blew, the ship would become a giant bomb, enough to destroy the entire fleet. Zyrak saw the same numbers and laughed madly. "You see, you'll destroy everything, or yourself included." Eli's eyes hardened. If that's what it takes to protect Earth, then so be it. Zyrak stared at him, and for a brief second, there was respect in his eyes. "You're not like the others I've conquered," he muttered. You're dangerous." Eli didn't look back. "I'm human. That's enough." The Drancor fleet moved closer again, firing from all sides. The shields finally broke. The command room shook violently as pieces of metal ripped from the ceiling. Eli grabbed the console to stay upright. His voice was firm, though his body trembled. "AI, reroute all power to propulsion. Aim for Earth's atmosphere. Warning. Entering atmosphere at current speed will cause total destruction." Eli closed his eyes. "Then let's make it count." The engines roared louder, brighter than before. The ship turned sharply and shot toward the blue planet below. Flames began to form around the hull as it entered the upper layers of the atmosphere. Inside, everything shook like an earthquake. Alarms screamed. Fire burst from broken vents. Zyrak shouted over the noise, "You'll die for a world that doesn't even know you're saving it." Eli looked at him, sweat and smoke on his face. "Maybe they'll never know, but they'll live. That's enough for me." Zyrak stared at him in silence. For the first time, he understood what fear really was, not the kind that came from death, but from realizing humans weren't weak at all. They were unpredictable and unstoppable. The ship hit the ocean with a thunderous impact. Water exploded upward in waves taller than mountains. For a moment, everything went dark. Then silence. Smoke and steam rose from the waves. The mighty Drancor warship, once a terror in the galaxy, now lay broken beneath the sea. On the surface, pieces of glowing metal floated like dying stars. Deep inside the wreck, Zyrak opened his eyes. The restraints were broken, the power gone. He crawled through the wreckage, calling out, "Human! Where are you?" No answer, only the sound of water rushing in. Zyrak looked up toward the cracked ceiling. A faint light shone through. He whispered, half in awe, half in fear, "He did it. He actually did it." Days later, alien rescue ships search the ocean. Zyrak, still alive, warns them, "The human is not dead. The ocean was quiet. The waves rolled softly over the wreckage, hiding the ruins of what once was the most powerful alien warship in the galaxy. The Drancor flagship, the ship that had conquered worlds, now lay silent under miles of cold, dark water. Days passed. Above the planet, more Drancor vessels arrived. Search ships hovered above the ocean, scanning the deep. Their lights cut through the water like blades, searching for any signs of life. Inside one of the rescue ships, Commander Val Zyrak, second in command, stood before a glowing screen. "Find him," he ordered coldly. "If Zyrak lives, we bring him home. If not, we destroy whatever remains." The crew nodded and continued scanning. For hours, nothing appeared, just silence and wreckage. Then suddenly, the radar beeped. "Commander, we've found movement deep below the surface." Val's eyes lit up. "Lock on, bring it up." A powerful tractor beam cut through the ocean, pulling up twisted metal and broken fragments. Among them was a single escape pod, half crushed, covered in algae and burn marks. Inside, a faint life signal blinked. The pod opened with a hiss. A wave of dark water poured out. Inside lay Commander Zyrak, his silver skin now dull and cracked. He coughed, gasping for air. Varl stepped forward, shocked. "Commander, you're alive!" Zyrak's red eyes flickered weakly. His voice was broken and low. "Alive, yes, but not the same." Varl helped him up. "We will return to the fleet. The human, he's gone. The ship is lost." At the word human, Zyrak froze. His claws tightened. His expression changed from pain to pure terror. "No," he whispered. "He's not gone." The entire room went silent. Varl frowned. "Sir, the human couldn't have survived that crash. It's impossible." Zyrak turned slowly, his voice trembling. "You don't understand. Nothing about that creature is impossible anymore." He looked down at the ocean through the ship's window, as if expecting something to rise from the depths. Varl hesitated. "Commander, what did the human do?" Zyrak stared into the dark water, his eyes filled with something his soldiers had never seen before. Fear. "He changed the ship's AI. It obeyed him. He took control of our weapons. He learned faster than we thought possible. He fought like one of us. No, better than us." He took a shaky breath. "Humans, they're not weak, Varl. They are dangerous. And if that one survived, then the universe will never be the same again." Thousands of feet below the surface, light began to flicker. Deep within the ruins of the alien ship, something moved. A dim glow pulsed from the shattered control core, blue and white light mixing like fire underwater. Then a shadow appeared. A human hand pressed against the cracked glass of a chamber. Eli Turner opened his eyes. He coughed and gasped as water rushed around him. The ship's AI voice, now softer, almost human, whispered inside the wreck. "Welcome back, Eli Turner." He smiled weakly. "Still alive, huh?" "Systems damaged, but functional. You are safe, for now." Eli looked around the half-flooded chamber. The AI circuits were still glowing faintly. "We did it," he said quietly. "Earth is safe." "Yes, but the Drancor fleet remains active. They will return." Eli's face hardened. "Then we'll be ready next time." He looked at the small alien device still attached to his wrist, a control chip that allowed him to interface with the ship's AI. It pulsed faintly with light. "Can you send a signal?" he asked. "Affirmative, frequency?" Eli smiled. "Earth's military command. Tell them everything. It's time they know what's out there." The AI's lights blinked. "Signal sent. Message delivered." Eli leaned back, exhausted. The ocean above shimmered with light breaking through the waves. He whispered, "Zyrak called us useless. I hope he's listening now." Far above, on the rescue ship, Zyrak suddenly felt a strange pulse, a frequency he recognized. It was the ship's AI. A voice played through the ship's speakers, calm, human, and terrifyingly familiar. "To the Drancor Empire, this is Eli Turner of Earth. You came to conquer us. You failed. If you ever return, we'll be waiting." The sound of his voice echoed through the ship like thunder. Every alien froze. Zyrak fell to his knees, his face pale. "He's alive," he whispered. He's alive! The crew stared in horror as the message repeated once more before cutting off. Silence filled the room. Varl turned to his commander. "What should we do, sir?" Zirak looked out at Earth, the blue planet shining below. His voice was almost a whisper. "Leave this world. Tell the High Council. Never come here again." Varl frowned. "But why? They're just humans." Zirak turned sharply, eyes burning with dread. "They are not just anything. They are the most dangerous kind of life, the kind that refuses to die." Weeks later, on a quiet beach somewhere on Earth, the morning sun rose over calm waters. A man in torn clothes walked out of the sea, barefoot and covered in salt and bruises. His hair was messy, his face tired, but his eyes were alive. Eli Turner stood at the edge of the waves, looking up at the bright sky. He still wore the alien wrist device, now dark and silent. He whispered softly, "We may be fragile, but never useless." He looked toward the horizon, where the faint line of stars was just visible in the morning light. "They'll come again," he said quietly. "And when they do—" He smiled. "We'll be ready." The camera pans upward, from the lonely man on the shore to the endless sky above. High in orbit, a faint blue light flickered, a tiny drone rising from the water, carrying alien technology, and with it, the next chapter of human history had already begun. Final line for narration. The universe thought humans were weak until one of them proved otherwise.